I want to give a little memorial. And before I talk about this, I should explain that my my experience with this person is very limited. I did not agree even with Tumblristas of everything he said, but so if there's like weird shit out there I don't know about, keep in mind what my experience is here. But supposedly, Common Filth has died. This is supposedly, I think, his mother saying, Alexander, Alex, Ali, Almo, my precious, beautiful boy, kind, patient, gentle, loving, sensitive, intelligent, talented, funny, thoughtful, serious, quiet, peaceable. You loved animals more than most people. Alex, you gave me the greatest gift a mom could receive, the assurance that your faith, hope, and love was in Jesus. Your final words on this side of heaven, I love you. And as odd as it sounds, that I was with you as you left this world and opened your beautiful blue eyes to behold glory. Until the day that the Lord calls me home, I will miss you with my entire being. If you read this, please pray for me and my family. If you don't know who Common Filth is, he is the mind behind Tumblristas. If you've heard the memes med-resistant AIDS or med-resistant strains, or if you've heard the meme white girls dogs, Common Filth was the architect behind this. He was he was definitely Christian first before like anything racial. He was extremely anti-feminist, anti-communism, anti-homosexuality, anti-everything. But what his big contribution was in 2014, 2015, maybe even earlier. I think 2014 though. He launched a episodic series, I think on YouTube originally, called Tumblristas, which got to I think 100 episodes. And what Tumblristas was, um, is sort of hard to capitalize if you've never heard of it. It's very short videos. They're each like 5 minutes long. Um, and they're just him reading Tumblr posts. So let me just give some groundwork here. In the early 2010s, there was a social media site called Tumblr. If you're very young, you might not have even heard of this. Tumblr was so big, it rivaled other media sites, and it was bought out eventually for multiple $billion, which was unheard of for a social media site in the early 2010s. It was bought by Yahoo, and Yahoo killed it. Yahoo actually sold Tumblr, I think, semi recently for a couple $1 million. So it lost one thousandth of its, or sorry, it lost 99.9% of its value, 999 thousandths of its value, over only a couple years. And it did this because Yahoo didn't know what it had. It thought it bought a regular social media site that people liked, but it actually bought a cesspit that can't be understated in how malicious it was. Um, when they bought it, they banned because they immediately realized they had a tremendous issue with child, and that's because Tumblr was effectively just a place for members of the LGBTIAP plus to groom children into deranged shit. It was basically a proto Discord, and I think even Discord was less of a disaster for the human race than Tumblr was, because Tumblr was just out in the open. Like, you have to willingly go into a circle, a server or whatever with Discord to expose yourself to it. With Tumblr, it was just extraordinarily prevalent. It was mostly people under the age of 20. I imagine many of them were 13 and younger, and it was literally just a place for promulgating mental illness as a lifestyle. There was a pro eating disorder community called Pro Anna that was so big that certain tags like Pro Anna would give a warning that you should contact somebody for help depending on where you're from. So a lot of women got eating disorders from the Pro Anna community on Tumblr. There was pro kink stuff. So I think really Tumblr kicked off the whole like physical abuse as a fetish thing. Like, so many people are into like slapping and like having fingers shoved in their mouth and being sodomized. I think a lot of that came from Tumblr for like really young people. I blame Tumblr for that. They was it popularized like ABDO? They popularized bug chasing, stealthing people with AIDS and shit. And they popularized mental illness as a lifestyle. If you ever heard of people talking about multiple systems and how there are multiple people in one body, that came from Tumblr. In fact, our very own Liz Fong Jones, he's stopped doing this now, but he used to call himself a multiple system, and he was very active on Tumblr when he was talking about being a multiple system. Liz Fong Jones did not manage to escape the other big thing that Tumblr was responsible for. Before Tumblr became a super big social media site, transgenderism as a concept was relegated to like drag shows. You had gay men who did drag races and stuff, but it was basically like costume, like Mardi Gras. And after Tumblr, it became a lifestyle, and then it became a global phenomena thing. And that was because you basically had who had access to children and started coaxing them into exploring their trans femme kink positive anti slut shaming side, and that escaped containment and came about the world. And as it was happening in real time, Common Filth was there, and he produced 100 of these Tumblrista episodes, basically going over the dredges of Tumblr and exploring how it wasn't just deranged inner city children who were succumbing to this. It was kids in Iowa talking about how their stupid Republican dads won't let them walk around with a dog collar on. And he had a stark warning. He said that this is not just California. This is not silly Europeans. This is people in Missouri. This is kids living on a farm in Nebraska because the internet is global and they're on Tumblr and they're being groomed by. And also, the other thing I forgot to mention is that Tumblr was basically just a hub for teen girls to post themselves. It was like every person had like a not safe for work blog, and many of them were underage. And when Yahoo bought it and they realized that a substantial portion of all media on their platform was like 15-year-old girls posting nudes, they freaked out, which is why the community was basically ruined, because that's what it was. It was not just a platform that had a child problem. It was a platform that was about child exploitation. And they didn't know that when they bought it for several $billions. So the sale of Tumblr was like the smartest sale ever made. The purchase of Tumblr was the dumbest purchase ever made. And now, as I said, that's all moved to Discord. But I think that Discord, even as bad as it is not as bad as Tumblr was. And Common Filth was the main guy. His little 5-minute long videos are like dry humor, dry, nihilistic, sarcastic, very quippy, very funny. There's very many like skits that he did that have stuck with everybody who watched them. Sam Hyde references some of his stuff in some of his videos. Medicare references his videos in some of his videos. I think that there are probably a lot of people who are my age who now have platforms that were influenced very heavily by Common Filth when they were younger. Because when this was happening, I was like 20. So it was very timely for me. So he will be missed. I understand that he had issues with his own audience. As I said, he was very much religious first. Like if you asked him the question that pagans love to ask people, would you prefer a country that is 100% Christian but black, or 100% white but pagan? Like that question, Common Filth would definitely be. I would much rather live in a very pious country than a country that is ethnically homogenous but not Christian, because that's just how he was. So he had issues with staying popular after Tumblristas kicked off. I don't think his Common Filth Radio ever took off as well as Tumblristas did, and I think he had issues with drinking and stuff, which is probably why he died, which is sad. But he definitely had an outsized impact on culture, probably incalculably so. I don't think it's possible to really accurately surmise how widespread his videos were, and it's entirely reasonable that someone like JD Vance would have been a fan of Common Filth. He's the right age and from the right time in the right sphere. So that's Common Filth. If you want to listen to his videos, I will be sure to leave a link to the archive.org archive that I'm showing you on my screen, for those who want to watch it. And I have an archive that I've kept on the Kiwi forums for a very long time, so I'll put that up. I have to go fix the archive on the forum.